on the next episode of AMC's The Walking Dead.
Make no mistake, our first victory will allow our second. Our second will deliver our third.
My people, they're coming. And we'll get you to Negan, or we won't.
You know how dangerous this is, who these people are.
We have come this far, all of us still here. We will lose not one of our ranks.
Hey guys, Kiwi here. In this video, I'll be breaking down and analyzing the new promo trailer and sneak peek for next week's episode of The Walking Dead Season 8, Episode 3. With that being said, warning and spoilers for everything in the show up to Episode 803, and let's jump right into this. So let's just briefly start with the major bomb dropped on us at the end of Episode 802, the return of Morales. I'm hoping for a little more catch up between them, although Rick doesn't seem to be in a very talkative mood. I'm planning on having a full discussion video about Morales within the next few days or so, but is this actually how Rick gets captured? Ever since the Season 8 trailer this summer, we've been teased the fact that Rick gets kidnapped and ends up in a large shipping crate back at Jadis' junkyard. Now ever since then, people have been trying to guess how he gets captured, but is Morales actually the answer? If you came to me 3 months ago and said that Morales came out of nowhere, turned out to be a savior, and captured Rick, I would think that you were straight up trolling. It might get a laugh out of me, but I'd think of it as, with that being said, I'm not particularly against them bringing back Morales, but they better have a damn good believable explanation. Depending on how long Morales survives into the future of the show, his entire backstory doesn't necessarily have to be told all at once next episode, but I'd still like for it to all make sense. Another point that I wanted to bring up is the fact that we haven't seen the whole Jeep chase between Rick, Daryl, and a few saviors that we've seen teased multiple times in trailers, including the one from last week, so what's the deal? In last week's trailer, not only did we see that, but we also saw what looked like the saviors looting a bunch of weapon crates while we hear Rick warn Daryl about them getting the guns back to the sanctuary. Now, although we've seen Rick and Daryl discuss the weapons, we still haven't seen those saviors taking the guns yet, so are those the men that Morales called? If that's the case, then I assume that they're also the people that Rick and Daryl chased down in the Jeeps. But with Morales holding Rick at gunpoint, how will he get out of it? Well, in the sneak peek for next week's episode, we can see Daryl having a gunfight with some saviors that have arrived, but what's the outcome? I assume that he gives Rick a big enough of an opening for him to get out of whatever situation he's in with Morales, but the saviors end up getting away with the guns. Now, in the Season 8 trailer, we get a quick glimpse at Rick and Daryl shooting up the insides of the same outpost, which I don't think we've seen yet in Episode 802, as they were sneaking around quietly the whole time. So I assume that this will happen next week with 803 as they attempt to fight their way out. This causes the whole savior chase scene with them and Rick in Jeeps along with Daryl on his motorcycle. Now, just like I said last week, we've been shown Rick calmly walking away from Daryl as he drives away from Rick as well. So is this confirmation that they end up taking out the saviors that were on the Jeeps? Speaking of which, where are the Jeeps? And well, that's about all the speculation I can think of for this situation currently, but if you have anything else you'd like to add, or if there's anything I've missed, definitely feel free to let me know. Let's start out discussing the promo trailer as we get glimpses of Tara, Morgan, and Jesus along with the rest of their group walking back all of their savior prisoners. While walking them back to wherever they're going, the new promo trailer shows them being attacked by zombies. The saviors are freaking out due to being tied up and unable to defend themselves, while Jesus, Tara, and Morgan, and everyone else try and fend off against the undead. Will any saviors escape here? Is this what causes Morgan and Jesus to run off into the woods? Also, it'll be very possible for some of the good guys to die here trying to defend the prisoners. Even if they are just red shirts from the Hilltop or Alexandria or the Kingdom, it'll still piss off Tara and Morgan along with everyone else, so Jesus may have some answering to do. All of this may lead up to Morgan fighting Jesus in the woods. Jesus is turning even more so into a moral compass while he disagrees with mainly Tara, but also Morgan. Tara is really starting to show how this war is just causing her to go full front on this, but Jesus just wants to show mercy. Ever since Tara's experience with the ocean side just to come back home and learn that Glenn, Abraham, and Denise were murdered, she's been way more confrontational, and I'm really enjoying her character evolution during seasons 7 and 8. Although apparently some people find her annoying, I saw quite a few complaints about her chewing that stale licorice in the season 8 premiere. The thing about the show having so many characters is that sometimes they have difficulties figuring out what to do with them all, especially if a comic book character is past the point where they would have died, or if they're original to the show. Tara is original to the show, and I'm really looking forward to seeing how the war will continue to affect and change her personality. And as far as Morgan goes, he's long outlived his comic counterpart by this point, so everything happening with him is pretty much original. He's definitely starting to revert into clear mode as we really see the cracks in his character during episode 802. I made a video recently discussing Morgan possibly turning crazy again this season, and now after this episode it just seems even more likely, as you can tell that the murders are really getting to him. This will continue, and I feel like it will eventually drive him mad, causing him to go blow off some steam in the woods. Once again, I just really want to know what the heck's going on there. So because of Jesus wanting to give mercy to the surrendering saviors, it really seemed to fuck with Morgan's mojo. He has two switches in his mind, passive mode and murder mode, and there's really no in between. So when he goes in there to kill everyone, but Jesus tells him to stop right after he fully turned that switch on, it really messed with his head, along with his decision-making skills. Now, Morgan has been stuck with this moral dilemma the entire show, but this war is really going to test him to the fullest extent possible. Not only did Jesus tell Morgan to not kill the saviors, but he told Morgan to not kill the one savior that he wants to kill the most, Savior Jared. This is the guy that killed Benjamin last season by shooting him in the leg, and about every Walking Dead fan I know wants Morgan to kill him. The fact that Morgan doesn't shoot him here shows that he does still have restraint, but that he's still flip-flopping from both extremes, and that's very damaging to his mental state. Now, during the trailer for next episode, we actually get a glimpse of the hilltop. We can see Enid on lookout while we see Maggie looking kind of concerned. Is this them wondering why the heck Jesus is bringing back a bunch of prisoners to the hilltop? Also, back in the Season 8 trailer, we had glimpses of what looked like Savior Jared trying to get loose from his restraints, and it looks like he's at the hilltop. So with that being said, I assume that they at least get Savior Jared to the hilltop alive, but we'll have to wait and see how successful his escape is, if that's indeed what he's trying to do here. And oh god, now on to Carol and Ezekiel. So although not much happened this previous episode, there's still a bunch to go off of as far as predicting what will happen next. So the only real thing that they did the entire episode was chase down that lone savior, along with confirming that the rest of the saviors know that they're on their way. With Ezekiel's overconfidence, I really hope that he can pull through and not end up wimping out. Ezekiel has been very hesitant to march his men into battle due to never doing it before, but as he told Carol, fake it till you make it. Now, in the promo trailer for next week, we see Ezekiel and most of his men getting completely surrounded, so how the hell are they going to get out of this one? In the trailer, we can also see Carol shooting her gun, so is she trying to save them? Correct me if I'm wrong, but during the short clip where Ezekiel and his men are getting surrounded, I'm pretty sure that Carol isn't actually with them. So is this a trick? Was Ezekiel and his men bait, or is this them actually getting screwed over, along with Carol possibly saving them? Now, I don't think Carol can quite do all the work herself, so Ezekiel and his men will have to spring up with their weapons as well in order to have enough gunfire to take them out efficiently. So basically what I'm saying here is that while Ezekiel and his men are surrounded, Carol will act as the initial attack, distracting the saviors, as half of them will probably get shot up, while Ezekiel and his men pick up their guns and start firing as well. Now, why do I mention this? Well, once again, it's because we've already seen a short clip of what happens in the Season 8 trailer. There's a short clip of Ezekiel and his men springing up from the ground as they all fire off their weapons in the woods, and if you put both of these scenes side by side, they definitely look like the same situation. I assume that once Ezekiel is surrounded, the saviors will tell them to drop their weapons or something until Carol arrives so that they can grab them again. Oh, also, I just realized that we don't see Shiva at all either, so Shiva could also come in to save the day alongside Carol if it's not just Shiva herself. Also, in the trailer for next week, Ezekiel says that they will not lose one of their ranks, and we already know for a fact that that isn't true. Aside from the fact that that's very unrealistic to assume that there won't be casualties on both sides, we've already seen Kingdom soldiers get gunned down in trailers for Season 8. I've discussed this many times in my previous prediction videos for Season 8, and we still haven't seen it yet on the show, so I assume that it will happen as a part of Ezekiel's attack next episode. Alright, now with all that out of the way, let's move on to the situation between Eren and Eric. So I'll actually be saving my full predictions about them for my video on episode 802 where I compare the show to the comics, as I will be discussing comic book spoilers from All Out War, but there's still a little bit that I have to say here as well. That isn't a comic spoiler at least. So once again, back in the Season 8 trailer, we saw a glimpse of Eren with the same clothes that he has during the outpost attack, and he has blood on his hands. People speculated that this was him contemplating things momentarily after Eric's death, but what do you guys think? Also, there was no Negan this episode, and it seems like he won't be in next week's as well. We've been confirmed a long time ago that Negan won't be in quite a few episodes this season, but just how many will he be absent from? This episode I barely noticed, which I guess is a good thing. I mean, it's All Out War, so I was a little bit nervous originally a few months ago when that announcement of Negan not being around so much came out, but after watching episode 802, so much was happening already that we didn't really need an update on Negan yet. And speaking of which, when we do get an update on him and Father Gabriel, we'll also most likely get an update on the rest of the Saviors as well, such as Simon, Arad, Gavin, and Regina, but at this point we may not see that until episodes 804 or 805. And if that's the case, I don't really mind because that means that they're really taking their time with All Out War this season. I was originally very nervous that the show was going to burn through the entire war by the mid-season finale, but if Negan's trapped in the sanctuary until episodes 4 or 5 of this season, that really slows down everything compared to the comics, which is absolutely fine. With all of these battles coming to life from the comics, there's just so much to elaborate on, and I'm really glad that they did. Now, I'll save the comic book spoilers for my comic comparison video, but my point here is that the outpost attacks were glossed over so fast in the comics, and I'm very glad that it looks like they're spreading them out into 2 whole episodes. I predicted that this season would feel very much like the first half of Season 6, and the show seems to be fulfilling that prediction. The first half of Season 6 all happened over the time span of just a few days, especially the first 3 episodes of this season, up to when Glenn hid under the dumpster. Season 8 really seems to be doing a similar idea, minus the fake out death hopefully, but as they're spreading all of the action throughout the first 4 episodes, hitting us back to back to back to back with exactly what we wanted to see and more. Alright, so real quick, of zombies start barrel rolling down the hill, which is kind of hilarious, but yeah, they start attacking Morgan, and that's where the clip ends off. I'd appreciate a like on the video if you've enjoyed anything I've said today, or even subscribe for more Walking Dead content in the near future. If you'd like to take that extra step in helping support my videos, check out my Patreon where there's a bunch of different rewards involving the channel, such as a chance to directly influence the videos being produced. It isn't necessary by any means, but some of these videos do take a while, so it could really help in the long run. Also, apologies if I sounded a little bit weird in this video here and there. I'm still pretty sick, but I'm trying to push through. Anyways, I thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, I'll talk to you guys later. Peace out.